Hello, I'm Rudy Gray, editor of the Baptist Courier, and we're in Cowpens at First Baptist Church today to talk with interim pastor Kermit Morris regarding the tragedy, the fire that destroyed the church. And so we'll just start out by asking Kermit, you're the intentional interim pastor. Can you tell our readers, tell our listeners, our watchers what that means?
An intentional interim pastor goes in a church that's been going through some different things. It could be a long-term pastorate, or it could be a problem in the church. Mm-hmm. Here it was a long-term pastorate. And so we try to get them back on track and go through a period of 12 to 18 months where we move them to a point where they're ready to let go of the old pastor and call a new pastor.
Okay, now with that being said, you've been here for a little while, and then this tragedy happened. So where do you go from here?
Well, Rudy, I'm not sure where I'll go from here, but right now we're going to be here for the long haul. The day after the fire, I reassured the people and told them that our term of service is usually 12 to 18 months. And we're not going to be able to get things done by then. It's very difficult, as you well know, to call a pastor into a building situation. So I announced to the church the Sunday after the fire that I would be here with them if they wanted me to until the building is built. And the church immediately broke into applause at that point, saying, yes, we want you to stay.
Okay. Now, can you tell us a little bit about, I know that you said there's many stories about what happened, response from the community, from other churches, from the state convention, just really has overwhelmed you. Could you just share a few of those stories with our listeners and watchers?
Sure. Just this morning, while we're rebuilding the facilities, we're also on a campaign to rebuild the church, spiritual growth and moving forward. And one of the things I wanted to do, there was a book I wanted them to read. And of course, right now, before insurance kicks in or anything, we have a lack of funds. And so one church called me and said, what can we do? And I said, I need 150 copies of this book. Can you do some of that, and I'll find someone else that'll do the rest of it? And he said, let me get back to you, and we'll see what we can do. He called me within an hour and said, 150 of those books are on their way to you. The church bought them and just brought them in this morning.
And you shared with me earlier that there was another pastor that called and wished to remain anonymous that really blessed you with a great gift.
Yes, he called me, and he's in a situation. They at the end of the year, they ended up having some funds, excess funds, and he said, what do you need? And I said, mostly prayers, but we could use some money to reestablish or set up the Family Life Center from a gymnasium to a worship center. And we had to buy all new microphones and equipment and everything for it. And so he said, let me talk to my deacons Sunday night, and I'll call you back. Well, Monday of last week, he called me and said, I talked with my deacons, and my deacons are so excited that we're going to be able to help y'all a little bit. He said, I put a check in the mail this afternoon for $12,000 for y'all.
Kermit, can you tell us what it was like the first Sunday when you gathered together at Broome High School, the day following the destruction of the church buildings?
When I came up here, Rudy, the day of the fire, we got here, and my minister of music, or worship pastor, found me, and we prayed, and we hugged, and we cried, and the next thought that came into my head, God had to put it there, is, okay, this church is gone. The buildings are gone. What are we going to do Sunday? And I told him at that point, I said, I need you to get it together and think, where can we meet tomorrow? Because it's important that we gather together and have worship together. And so by 5 o'clock, he had us lined up to be at Broome High School. Wow. That service that morning was one of the sweetest services I've ever been a part of. As the praise team lined up on both sides of the auditorium and quoted scripture across the congregation, back and forth to each other, back and forth, sang the doxology, the praise team led in a couple of songs. And then we had a time of just sharing, where I told the congregation, I know those buildings meant a lot to you. They always do, because you've got deaths, you've got baptisms, you've got all these things, weddings that took place that you've had memories of. The fire took the buildings, but it can't take your memories. Mm-hmm. And I said, today, I think it's important that we share that some of those memories, and people began to share. Tears were shed, and people cried, and we talked. When it was over, we talked about the fact that the buildings are gone. There's nothing we can do about it. So the memories will never be gone. You hold on to those. But as we leave here today, we leave here saying we're putting that to rest, and we're looking forward to what God's going to do with us in the future. We have an opportunity that I think that's unprecedented of what can take place here. COVID has taken away all of our programming in the church. The fire has taken away all of our buildings. We're starting from scratch. It's like we're planning a church with 80 to 100 people. And they're excited about it. We put that to rest and said, from now on, we look forward to where God's taking us and what we're going to do. It was a very sweet worship service. At the end of that time of sharing, I preached on Isaiah 43, verses 16 through 21, where God said, see, I'm doing a new thing. Can you not perceive it? And he talked about building a stream in the desert where things were growing. And so we're looking forward to what God's going to do in this place at this time.
And I think it's providential that you have been a church planter, and now that's the kind of ministry that will really be happening here. Can you tell us a little bit if God's people out there want to help financially in some way? Can you tell us how they can help?
Well, they can go to the Facebook page and do it there, or they can also go to any First Citizens Bank. We have an account set up that says Cowpens First Baptist Church Disaster Relief Fund. And they can go there and make a contribution there. They can mail a contribution to the church at Post Office Box 1818 in Cowpens, and we get it that way. Any ways that they want to help or be a part, we would be extremely grateful. But most of all, we need their prayers. We need wisdom as to what we're going to do, what buildings we're going to build, how it's going to relate to the community that we have, what's going to take place there. So prayers are very, very important to us. And then the contributions would also help tremendously.